One of the biggest mistakes beginners make when they start building a website is trying to build too many pages too soon. They think they need a home page, an about page, a photo page, a video page, a contact page, and maybe a few pages more just in case. And before too long, the website feels too big, too confusing, and too easy to abandon. For your first life story website, one simple page is enough. In the first video of this series about building a web page in Google Sites, we started to set up a page and we had a brief tour of what that site looked like. And we gave our page a name and stored it in a place where you can open it up again. In this video, I'll show you how to create a clean one-page layout in Google Sites that gives your stories, photos, and videos a clear place to live. If you have done that work already, I would recommend that you find that page and open it so you can work along with me as we add some elements to it. Remember, you go to sites.google.com, and if you are logged in, you should see the page that you created. If you are watching this video on your phone, watch the whole thing, and then, after, open up your site, and on your computer, make the additions and edits that I'm going to show you today. I want you to know that for today's work, you do not need to become a designer. You do not need to make this perfect. You just need a simple structure. By the end of the video, your website will have the 5 basic sections. Welcome, about this project, my stories, photographs and memories, and a note to my family. That's enough to begin. So why are we keeping this to one page? Before we start clicking around in Google Sites, let's talk about why we are building only one page. The purpose of this site is not to impress the internet. The purpose is to create a simple home for your personal stories. If you are part of the Your Stories online course, this page can become the place where you collect things like a short story, things like a short welcome message, a description of your story project, one or more written stories, a few photographs or memories, a video version of your story, and a note for the people you are sharing it with. That does not require a complicated website. In fact, a simple one-page site is often better because your family or friends do not have to search around. They can scroll slowly, read what you've written, look at the photos, watch the videos, and understand why the project matters. For this first story website, I recommend 5 sections. The first section is welcome. This is where you greet the people who arrive on the page. It can be short and warm. The second section is about this project. This explains what the site is and why you created it. The third section is My Stories. This is where your written story and video reading of your story or links to several stories can go. The fourth section is Photographs and Memories. This gives you a place to add meaningful photos, captions, and visual memories. The fifth section is A Note to My Family. This is where you can say why you wanted to share these memories, who they are for, and what you hope people will take from them. That's the whole structure. One page, simple, clear, and manageable. Having said that, you can easily create individual sections of your choice. You don't have to have these 5 sections, but for now, it's a good place to start as we learn to navigate around our page. So now let's go to the computer. Open Google Sites and find the site we created in the previous video. In my example, I called the site Gordon's Family Stories. Today, we're going to add the basic bones of the website. Not all the stories, not all the photos, not the finished video, just the structure. Think of this like setting up empty shelves before you put anything on them. Once the shelves are in place, it becomes much easier to know where everything belongs. So let's start with the top of the page. This top area is called the header. This is where your site title appears. Click the header area and make sure your title is clear. For example, in this case, what we created last time was My Life Story Project. Try not to make the title too long. A short, clear title is easier to read, especially on a phone. You may also see options to change the header type, but for now, keep it simple. If there's a large image or a background that feels distracting, you can leave it plain or choose something calm. At this point, there are a few simple editing things you can do, such as changing the text style or adding an image to the header. Just click on the area that you want to edit and you will see a blue box that surrounds the element, which means you can change the things to be the way you want them to be. A good header does not have to be fancy, it just needs to tell people where they are. Now, let's look at theme options. In Google Sites, themes control the general look of the page, including things like fonts, colors, and style. Themes are over here, and here you see that there are 6 pre-made themes. Right now we're on the one that says simple. Let's quickly just take a look at a couple of them. And you'll see how things change. See the text changed there. If you click on over here under font style, it will change the look of the font. You just want to find something that you like the look of generally. Again, there's just these different levels of style, right? And different types of fonts that you could use. Also, it can change the basic color of the theme as well, right? As you click on the color bar here. But let's just keep something as simple as it is, and this is the font style that we've used here is light, and it's black. There's more you can do with this, and we'll show that to you in a little bit. Avoid anything that makes a page feel too busy. This is where beginners lose a lot of time. They start changing colors, fonts, and styles, and suddenly an hour has gone by, but the story is still not on the page. So here's the rule. Choose a simple theme and keep going. You can always make it prettier later. Now, let's create the first section. Welcome. Look for the option to insert a text box. Click text box and add the following heading. So over here on insert, you click on text box, and what come up is a place to write in the text. So we're going to write in welcome. Now make the heading larger if you need to. Over here, just above where you wrote welcome, you'll see it says normal text. There's different options for the type of text. You can have the size of the text that you want to use. Let's just choose heading for right now. So we've made the heading a little larger. You can do this by clicking that drop-down menu just above as we did. So under that, we're going to add a short welcome message. So when you see the cursor line, this vertical line is there, right next to the word welcome. Press enter or return. It will create a new line of text. And always the next line of text, new lines of text are always defaulting to normal. Under this, put in some text here that you're going to it's basically a message you're leaving people. I'll give you some starting text here. Welcome to my life story project. This site place collecting a few personal stories, photographs, and memories for family. And so there you go. Now let's look at a bit of the spacing. Make sure the paragraph is not too long across the page. If it feels crowded, add a line break or leave more space around it. You can resize a text box by clicking on it 1 or 2 times till you see a box around it with 2 dots on either side, like it is there. Click and drag on those dots and drag it left or right until you get the text looking like what you want it to be. See how it moves like that? You can also drag this box left and right by clicking on the small group of dots at the top of the section. You see those right there. And when I click on that, now I can drag it across. You see the blue lines at the bottom. That means that's the center of the page. It's basically going over column by column. But I can put that anywhere that I want. For now, let's just have it like there. On the blue dot, I'm changing how the text is already. So we moved the box around and we've changed where it can get placed in the page. So as we return back to our regularly scheduled programming, your welcome section, let's talk about it. It doesn't need to explain everything. It's simply a friendly opening. Think of it as greeting someone at the door. Next, we'll add a second section. This one is called About This Project. Add another text box or section below by clicking on text box and type in the heading About This Project. And let's make that also what was our heading. And then add this group of text just as a note, whatever it's going to be for you. This section helps people understand the purpose of the site. It also takes the pressure off you. You're not saying, here's my entire life story. You're saying, here's a few meaningful memories that I want to save. That's much easier. But before we add another section, let's talk about changing the background colors of a section. You probably want to do this to help the viewer distinguish that a new section has started. Generally, I like to make subtle changes between each section. And just as with the header, you can also have photos that become the background as well. There are 3 ways to change the background colors of a section. Click on the section, and you will see 3 icons that appear on the left-hand side, right? One looks like a painter's palette, one looks like a rectangle, and the third one looks like a little trash can. This one is for section colors, this one is for duplicating a section, which we'll talk about in a minute, and deleting a section is if you just want to start again with that section, it just automatically disappears. So let's look at the 3 options that there are in this color section. So there's style 1, which is just a basic white background. There's style 2, which is, you can see that changed to a light grayish color. There's style 3, which is now something where you can change that color in the theme section. So it's black right now. You can make that, say, green, or you can make the background blue, right? Or you can also go to the far right one of these circles of color and select whatever color you want. You can make it any kind of shade you want, right? And also there's a hex code here if you know what the hex codes are. So let's say that's what we're doing, that color there, just for now. Okay, so now when I go back to 3 color sections, that's the color that shows up is the last color that we picked for it. Okay, so this is the point that I'd warned about earlier, that we can get distracted by playing around with too many color options. For now, I will leave the welcome section as basic white and will select the contrasting color for the alternating sections. I'll try to make this about this project section in this other color. So now let's create the section where your stories will go. You can do this in 2 ways, either by adding a new text box that will create a new section, or you can go to one of the existing sections and click on the icons to the left of the section. Remember, there's those 3 icons, and that second icon, the rectangle one, it's for duplicating the section. So when I click on that, you see it's now duplicated that section and it puts it right above it. And then what I want to do is I want to drag that section by clicking on these little dots right there. I'm just going to pull it down below there. So now we've got these alternating colors, and this section is the same as that one, right? So now what I have to do is I have to edit some of the text. So we're going to call this section My Stories. So I'm just going to highlight that, and I'm going to write My Stories. And then, for now, you don't need to add a full story unless it's ready. You can simply add a placeholder. For example, you can write in here, Story 1, if that's the name of the story, the summer that I learned how to swim. Okay. If you know the titles of the stories, or it could just be Story 1, Story 2, we just are looking for a placeholder here. Under that, you could write, this will include one of my completed stories. It's just a reminder to you that there's something to go in there. My recommendation is that you create a new section for each story. That way you'll be able to change the order that the stories appear or edit them as needed. This is where the duplicating section is great to have because it means that you don't have to create a new layout for each story. Placeholders are your friend. It simply says something will go here later. That way you can build the structure of the site without needing every finished piece today. Next, let's add a section called Photographs and Memories. This is where you'll eventually place photos, captions, or small visual memories connected to your story. So I'm going to duplicate this page, right, or this section. I'm going to move it down, and we're going to change the title of this section to Photographs and Memories. For now, you can put a little placeholder line here as well. Basically says this section will include photos and memory, just as a reminder for you. Later, you might want to add a caption, such as Mom and Dad at English Bay. But today, we are only creating the section. Photos are powerful, but they can also pull you into another rabbit hole. You may start looking for one photo and end up sorting through 20 years of family albums. So for this lesson, do not go searching for every photo. Just create the place where photos will go. Now let's create the final section. And we're going to call it A Note to My Family. For this, let's just create a new section since it can be white, right? Go back to Insert, Text Box, A Note to My Family, and we made the heading style, and then you could write some text like this. I created this project to preserve a few memories and share them with the people who matter to me. I hope that these stories help you remember where we came from and what has shaped our family. Or you can just create a little placeholder note here before I share. This Note to My Family section matters because it gives the project emotional context. A story website is not just a place to store files. It's a way of saying, this mattered to me and I wanted you to have it. That is what makes the site meaningful. Google Sites also gives you some basic layouts. These are called content blocks. You can find these on the right side of the screen under the Insert area. These are prearranged sections that might have a space for an image and text beside it. You can use these later for photos and captions. Over here. So for example, let's take this content block. So here's a place for a photo, here's some text. What did we say? We wanted to say Mom and Dad at English Bay 1975, let's say. So, photo, some text, and again you can move these wherever you need to move them. You see that? So now it's right underneath Photographs and Memories, right? So you see there's different layouts here for 2 photos, text. You can choose what you like for it to be there, right? Okay. The important thing here is that we don't over-design. Use the layouts only if they make the page easier to understand. If the layout makes the page feel more confusing, skip it. A plain text section is perfectly fine. One helpful feature in Google Sites is that you can move sections around. If you decide that the photo section should come before the story section, you can move it. If you want the family note closer to the top, you can move that too. You just use the controls that are on the left-hand side of the page, right? So we're going to move note to my family right after the welcome page, right? And again, as you move things around, you may want to adjust the colors in the background. For the layout that we are working with in the Your Stories online course, I recommend this order: welcome, about this project, my stories, photographs and memories, and a note to my family. But remember, you can adjust this to whatever you want later. That's another reason not to worry about getting everything perfect the first time. A website is easier to change than a printed book. You can move things around, rename things, and revise things as your project grows. So now let's look at how we preview the page. We want to see what it looks like on other devices. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at for the preview button. It's in the top menu bar here, and you click on that one that looks like a little rectangle or a little screen. That's going to take you to the preview section. So now you see this little black box here at the bottom. This will tell you what type of screen you're going to view it on. So that's viewed on, right now it's viewed on as if it was a large screen, a computer screen. This is what it looks like on a tablet. And most importantly, this is what it's going to look like on a phone. So you can see how things are laid out and you get a sense of, is that legible, is it working, right? So you pick one of those three areas that you want to see what it might look like. And as you preview these, you want to ask yourself 5 things. Are the headings easy to read? Are the paragraphs too long? Is there enough space between the sections? Does the page feel calm? Can I understand where each part belongs? So once you've looked over, and you can preview things as you do them as well, just to make sure that the text is where you want it to be, and then you go back and you move things around. So to get back to the editing mode, you can either click up here on the top left where it says close preview and edit, or you can go down here to this in the black button at the bottom. You can go to click the X that says exit preview. You can get there 2 ways, so we do that, and now we're back into our page. So just to wrap things up for today, I want you to keep design advice very simple. First, use large headings. Headings help people understand where they are on the page. Second, avoid too many colors. 1 or 2 calm colors are enough. Third, leave space between sections. Empty space is not wasted. It helps people breathe as they read. Fourth, use short paragraphs. A large block of text can feel tiring, especially on a screen. And fifth, make sure the page is easy to read on a phone. If it looks good on a phone, it will usually be easier to read everywhere else too. So let's review what we've created. We've opened our Google site, we checked the header, we chose a simple theme, we added 5 basic sections, we added starter or placeholder text, we used placeholder sections where needed, we looked at basic layouts, we moved sections if necessary, and we previewed the page. That means you now have the bones of your story website. Not the finished site, not the perfect site, just the bones or the framework, and that's exactly where we want it to be today. We created a structure for creating a simple 1-page outline. So here's your assignment before the next video. Open your Google site and create these 5 section headings. Welcome, about this project, my stories, photographs and memories, and 5, a note to my family. And then add the starter wording for the first 2 sections. You can use the text that was created for this video or add a sentence or 2 about what you think should be in this section. And that's enough for today. If you worked along with me in this video today, you now have something very important, a simple structure. And structure reduces overwhelm. You no longer have to wonder, where does this story go? Or where should I put the photos? Or what should people see first? You have a place for each part of the project. Remember, your first story website does not need to be large. It doesn't need to be fancy. It does not need to look like anyone else's website. It simply needs to be clear enough for someone you care about to arrive, read, look, listen, and understand why story matters. In the next video in this series, we'll add the things that make the page feel personal: your story text and photographs. So create your 5 sections, keep the page simple, and take this one step at a time. If this video helped, subscribe to Online After 50 and continue with the next lesson. We are building this slowly, clearly, and without the overwhelm. Thanks for watching.